And after a year, I basically started out working part-time for the community team and for Lego brand retail. So I made the first German lease contracts actually for our brand retail stores. And yeah, there were these adult fans out there, and we had back then a guy called Jake McKee in the US, but he had a bit challenges working with the European AFOL. So luckily, I was sitting next to a lady in the legal department who happened to be married to Tormod Eskilsson, who is heading up our department. And she said, like, "Hey, are you interested in working with adult fans? You're building a lot yourself. Could you probably connect to that?" And that was how I got my foot into the door and work with the community. And I have done that since 2005, being community manager for Europe, the whole of Europe, and then since 2012 started out looking more for Eastern Europe and Asia Pacific as new areas where we wanted to extend our focus and work more closely with the groups that were popping up in these regions. In 2018, we had a reorg, and I changed focus a bit from being community manager to become manager for AFOL networking events, but also covering some other areas. And actually, since 2020, this year September, we changed name again. We changed a bit the setup in our team again. So now it's actually AFOL Community Integration Manager. Focus remains mainly the same, but in the future I will focus more on education also. So educating the colleagues around the globe who should have or who have a contact with AFOLs, how to work with AFOLs, set expectations, share best practice and all of these things. So that is something I will take on soon, and I feel that is super exciting. Participated in, and honestly I stopped counting at some point, but at least 150 AFOL driven events and conventions, excluding actually a lot of virtual conventions this year. Probably should count them and add them because it's so much fun to actually be also participating virtual activities, and covered kind of travel to kind of 31 different countries. So that's kind of a lot of travel. Started the Lego Scareback, back then Lego, now Scareback Fan Weekend, if you have heard about that. Designed the Lego Lookbook program. Worked on the main community support programs in all these years, and also started the former Hub event program, which is now changed into the AFOL networking event program. And shortly to AFOL networking events, so that are events where you have a lot of AFOLs coming with a focus on educating each other, meeting each other, exchange ideas. So there will be some US conventions. It's Paredes de Cura Fan Weekend in Portugal, actually Scareback Fan Weekend in Denmark, and it's Japan Brickfest in Japan. And I'm also working on getting probably one or two more events on board soon. But of course, with the pandemic, there are definitely challenges for physical events, as we all know. My current role covers something like, as I said, the AFOL networking event support, as Mark also mentioned, and also the development of the program. Then I work with the Lego House in Billund, helping them to understand and create interesting things for the AFOL community. This also will in the future include some other Billund stakeholders, like for example the new headquarter we are building in Billund, the Lego campus, where we also hopefully will have some AFOL models on display and doing some activities there. And as I mentioned, Lego staff education. Put a few pictures in so I can take a little round. So most favorite set is actually space. I got that when I was a child, and I loved this set. I play with it all the time, and I got it for Christmas, and it was so much fun. Then we have a few pictures from actually events. So you can see below that it's from Kokice convention in Croatia with my former colleague Kim, who was very missed. Then in the middle, that's from Bricks Cascade, actually, with a sword. That's kind of fun. Bottom is actually from the Anycom in Hong Kong, where we had a Lego designer and the Japanese master builder on site. Then we have the largest ever built Lego mosaic in the bottom, together with Kafka's Coin from Fairy Bricks, a charity organization from the UK. And the picture on the top is actually from a German event called 1000 Steineland, where we had Kjell and Jörn V and Tormod and Mes Nipper. So Mes Nipper is actually the former Julia, if you want to say it like that. So all of these important people, I think, for the first time, really going to an AFOL event, and that was in Berlin, so not too far from Berlin, but it was a blast. It was so much fun. So having them all around and showing them what the AFOLs can do. Then I surely want to touch the current situation in my areas. So for Lego House and Berlin stakeholders, Lego House has opened again since June 22nd. Before it was closed due to the global pandemic, and we never know when it gets closed again. You never know. Pandemic is super dynamic right now in Europe, and things change more or less daily. So usually we exchange the mock display in the Masterpiece Gallery and in the World Explorer every September, shortly before the Scareback Fan Weekend, because that fits very well with a one-year cycle. And also the people who are then coming in as the new exhibitors have the chance to go to the event, which is the very, very international big event in Denmark. Unfortunately, this was not working out this year because we really want to give them a good opportunity and to come and good experience, but there was no way to travel in a safe way. So this is basically postponed to 2021. And we hope 2021 September is good again. Let's cross fingers. But instead, I worked a lot on virtual things. So we worked on the virtual guided tours in the Lego House Historical Collection. We have done a virtual AFOL day in the Lego House, and we are working on other virtual activities for the future. So actually, next week Friday we have some test runs on some new activities. So stay tuned on that. It will be pretty exciting offers there. In addition to that, we had a Lego Certified Professional exhibition in the Kirkby building. The Kirkby building is actually the kind of, let's say, Lego's investment company where actually they own kind of the Lego brand. So that is owned by the Kirk Christiansen family. And we also, as I mentioned before, looking into potential new activities in the Lego campus, which is finished soon, and we will most likely have a very, very nice area where all the visitors and all the staff will go in, and hopefully we can do some AFOL displays there. We're also thinking about having some Lego Ideas activities there. So there's definitely an opportunity to have some mocks displayed. Right now we have one very, very big ship displayed. It's a kind of probably 2.5-3 meter long model of a famous Danish ship, which is displayed in the campus right now. Then AFOL networking events as like this. So as you all might have seen and noticed, all the events, or most of the events, have been canceled in 2020. Actually my only business trip really to an AFOL event has been to Bricks LA in January. And since then I was not traveling, so my family loves that. I'm a bit kind of, it's a bit weird to not travel to anywhere. And then my colleague Sine has been to Bricks Cascade in Portland, and since then everything stopped. So, but luckily, crisis burst creativity, as we say. So we have a lot of virtual AFOL networking events. So we had Bricks by the Bay, we had Brick Fiesta, we had Brick Can, we had Brick Con, we had all the Brickworlds Mark was setting up. We will have Japan Brick Fest in December. So a lot of virtual events. I'm already planning for January. So there are a lot of virtual events happening, and even people sometimes think virtual events are not a lot of work. Speak to me, speak to Mark, speak to the other organizers. It's actually a lot of work to do virtual events, but it's also really fun, and it's cool because you can have people on, like for example Julia, or for BrickCon we had Skip Kodak, who is actually the executive vice president for the whole Americas on, and that is of course fantastic to have these people joining, because usually taking a whole weekend out of their calendar and flying to somewhere is really a challenge. For them, but being around for an hour or two, that is much more doable. So it's not the same to be in the same room, but still we can hear their message and can see them. So I think that is still pretty cool. So I'm very happy about these opportunities. Lego staff education. Actually, I try to work. Time is a bit short right now due to a lot of other activities, but I definitely will start this year to work on an implementation plan, as well as content, and also defining what is the relevant Lego stuff to be educated, how to do this, how to engage, how to interact and what to teach. But there will be definitely some courses for relevant Lego employees to get an understanding about how to work with AFOLs. I lately had actually a check-in with my colleagues in Mexico. So it's always very well received, because everybody has kind of heard about AFOLs, but has not necessarily a clue what does that mean, what can I do, what can they do, how can we connect, who's in my area, who's working in my region. So there are a lot of possibilities for education, and that's super exciting, because I felt that is really needed, and I'm very, very happy to that I have gotten that that I have, yeah, that I can work with that opportunity. And then I'm still, and this is something I will in the future most likely deliver to somebody else. But right now I'm still working also on Lego branded stores. So that means Lego brand retail stores, which you have all the stores in North America, actually Lego brand retail stores. But as soon you go, for example, to Mexico, or let's say Italy, in some countries we only have something, not only, wrong word, but we have something called Lego certified stores, which are actually stores that look like a Lego store, but they are owned not by the Lego company, but they are owned by a partner, by a big franchise partner. And these stores look very much, they have the same offers, they have a bigger brick wall, but the staff is not Lego employed, so they need a lot of support in the direction, what can we do with AFOLs, what is interesting for AFOLs, what activities can we do. So we implemented actually an AFOL shopping day, or as you call it in North America, AFOL appreciation day in the region we call Western Europe, which is Italy, France, and Spain. So we did that, and as I said, we're also looking into Mexico now. We might look into Russia soon. So there are definitely some areas I work with Lego certified stores, but I also work with Lego brand retail stores to help them to run the programs like the AFOL Appreciation Day, like the AFOL Showcase program, all the VIP stickers for the shopping. All of these things I'm actually looking into and working with my colleagues on. Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to share. So I'm ready for some questions or some dialogue.
Excellent. We've got a couple questions to start us off here. Anybody
Sure.
else have questions? If you could please type them down in the chat, and I will relay them over to Jan. So first of all, I'm not sure this is coming from the right perspective. When it comes to the Lego house models from Berlin, do you sell them anywhere else besides the Lego house?
The exclusive sets, or what do you think about, or what the person who asked the question thinks about?
I'm not sure exactly. I think this came from
exclusive sets. I see it down there. Yes.
Perfect.
No. So we actually, Lego House has specifically decided that these exclusive sets are only sold at the Lego House. We made a little, in the pandemic, they kind of thought about selling them via shop at home, and they tried it out, but they are, on the one hand, this is not really the way we want to do this, because exclusive should mean it's exclusive for the Lego House. I know a lot of people like to have them but cannot necessarily go, but the AFOL community is so connected, you will always find a friend or somebody who can help you out or something like that. So I think that should be possible. And the other reason also for why we legally not really can do it is that the boxes are actually also from the design and from the legal notice and all of these things on it, designed to be sold in the Lego House. They not have the legal requirements to be sold, for example, in North America, because the box design would need to be different. There need to be different other languages on, especially Canada has one of the most detailed rules of how this whole box would need to look like, and what languages and what description should be on there. And basically these boxes not fulfill that. And that is why we basically decided to, why we also not have the legal possibility to sell them otherwhere else. So come to the Lego House or find a good friend who is going, and you will get them.
Awesome. So just to clarify, they did try it for a little while in Europe.
Yes, there was a test run, because when the Lego House actually was closed in the pandemic, they felt, okay, nobody can go here, so it's a bit a challenge for people if no one can even come here and it's closed. Give it a try. But I think it was only okay to sell them in Denmark and in, I think it was UK and Ireland or something like that. So that were the only kind of 3 countries where you could sell them legally. and that was kind of, at the end we felt that would not really make a lot of sense to restrict it so much to these few countries in the future. So
all right, well, they appreciate those answers. They seem satisfied with the explanation, which is
that is the explanation I have.
yeah. Well, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I
Yeah.
it might even be hard to market those sets.
It's super cool sets, and I love them. I built the duck, and I built the tree, and the dinos, and the sets are really cool. And of course they are kind of exclusive because they're only in the Lego house. But as I said, the community is so interlinked, and you can get special sets from China or Japan. So why can I not get them from Billund? I think that should definitely be possible.
Yeah, one of the designers has brought some of the Lego house models to Chicago to donate to the charity auction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to get your hands on one, come to Brickworld and come to our charity auction. So the next question is, how do the A&E events differ internationally versus the ones that are held in the US?
So how an A&E event is different from a normal AFOL event, or what is the?
Just comparing the United States to the events that occur around the world. Like, how are they different?
Oh, okay. I think in the US or North America you have more this convention style event, which is very much you have some public hours, and then you have some closed hours. So you have a lot of things going on at the same time, like presentations, workshops. It's all these keynotes, opening ceremony, closing ceremony. This is a very, very specific type of event, and a very specific way of doing these events. And I think it is probably also North America specific. The other events are also trying to follow a bit the idea of doing some workshops, some presentations. Sometimes it's mixed into the opening hours, so that you have open hours and you have in the same time running these activities. So other try to do dedicated days. So there is not really a huge difference, only that I think the way the events have grown historically is different. So that it has started out, this convention type seems to be very specific for North America, or very specific for English speaking areas, because in the UK they also do these conventions. This seems not so common, at least in the past, in other parts of the world. But I think that is changing, and I think it's a really nice concept to focus on the combination of course you need to have, like, to create an AFOL networking event. It's actually not a requirement to have the public in. So theoretically you could do an event without public, and only focus on doing AFOL interaction and workshops and presentations and education and mingling and all of these things. Of course that turns probably out a bit difficult, because doing an event also generates some cost, and without any public that might be a challenge to cover these costs. But so it's difficult. It's not that much different, but it's kind of more the concept of an AFOL network event compared to an AFOL event in general is kind of, on the one hand, the size of the event. So you need to usually have a minimum of 250 AFOLs participating. It should be an international crowd. You should focus also on diversity. You should focus on giving actually the AFOLs the opportunity to mingle, to interact, and that is usually not happening so much at the other AFOL events, the normal that are normally run in, let's say, the local library, or run by a fan group alone. So that's kind of the biggest difference here.
With all the A&E events that you guys support, everyone that's officially recognized, do you have official Lego representation at every one of them?
At least, it's at least that's the goal.
Yeah.
It not has been at the beginning, but actually in 2019 I did my best to work on that and to get my colleagues to travel. And 2020 actually I had lined up one colleague for every single event, but then there were no events. But I had lined up a colleague, and I also get a certain amount of Lego designers actually to go to events. It's right now I could negotiate to a number between 5 and 6, and of course with 12 events right now that would cover only half of them, but we make sure that one of our department is usually going, at least one person, and hopefully 2 or a designer is going. So that's the goal, to have Lego stuff at each of these events. Yes.
Very cool. I can imagine that'd be a challenge.
It's because it's quite some travel budget, of course, and also, you need to. For me, it always has been very common in all these years to work at weekends. That's kind of, that's how it goes. But in general, Denmark is a very family focused country. So
Yeah.
you're very focused on having your work time, but you're also having your free time. You need to have time for your family. The first thing when I started at Lego, or let's say the second thing when I started actually at Lego, my boss back then told me was like, remember to take your vacation. And I was like, oh, okay, that's something new coming from Germany, and like, being very used to working a lot and all of these. It's not that we not work a lot in Denmark, but it's very common that, at between 3 and 4 p.m. the offices kind of, a lot of people vanish basically and go home, so
Yeah.
they have time with their family, and then they fire up their computer in the evening and do their work when the kids are in bed and all of that. So it's very focused on having a very good work-life balance, and that's very nice. But of course, that also is giving me challenges to find people to work at weekends, actually.
Right. So if the second thing your new boss told you when you started at Lego was to make sure you took your vacation, what was the first thing he told you?
If I could remember that, probably about the job. I don't know,
Okay.
but
I
at
thought,
least it not make as big as an impression as that I need to take my vacation.
gotcha. But
Because usually when you start your job, it's kind of, you talk about tons of things, but not about it's important to take your vacation, right?
gotcha. It
Yeah.
seemed you switched it from the first thing he told you to the second thing he told you. So I thought there was a significant first thing he had told you that pushed it off.
The second thing was much more significant than the first thing, as you can see.
Okay.
And it's kind of almost 18 years ago, so
Right.
my memory slipped there a bit. And we had a funny situation lately where we had a kind of team meeting, virtual team meeting, and we talked, and Tormod, my boss, as he has been around for, I think, almost 30 years or something like that. So he told some stories, and then they actually were reaching out and saying like, "Hey, Jan, you must also have a lot of stories in all these years." And yes, I had, but at some point, your memory actually is kind of, there's so many things going on that it's kind of really difficult to remember all these fantastic stories
Yeah.
that were happening in all these years. So it has been so tremendous, many meetings and trips and great experiences, and being in Asia, and being in China and Korea and North America, and it's there's so many fantastic things. It's also very, very difficult to choose one and saying like this is the best or whatever. That's no way. That's so impossible.
Yeah. You can always journal all of your experiences, but you're supposed to use that time for vacation, not for.
Yeah, and I should have started 18 years ago with that. So
I don't necessarily understand this question, but I'm going to ask it because you may know what they're talking about.
let's see.
What is the name of the famous ship in the new office?
Oh, that's the name is Jutlandia. So it's actually a ship that has been. You can Google it. It's made by a very, very good um, Dutch AFOL builder. His name is Arjan Oudekotte. He's a fantastic shipbuilder. He builds incredible models, and the ship is actually very famous due to two things. It has been a hospital ship sent by the Danish government to Korea and the Korean War to treat the soldiers, the injured soldiers, but it also treated actually the civil population, the kids or the women that got hurt in the war. So it was very famous, and actually it got a monument also in Copenhagen, because the Korean and the Danish government got together and created a monument. It is a Red Cross operated ship back then, and a very, very famous Danish singer. His name is Kim Larsen. He actually died 2 years ago or something like that. He made a song about the ship, and it is such a, it's so close to the heart of the understanding of the Danish population, that it's such a beloved memory. So therefore, we actually asked Arjan if he could build it, and then we displayed it. So it's a lovely model. It's really beautiful.
And which building is it in?
It's in the Lego campus, in the headquarter, in
Nice.
the new headquarter. Yes.
Cool. And the person who asked that question said, "Thank you for the information."
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
So,
okay, cool.
cool.
Um,
But Google it, and otherwise I need to put a link in. But if you Google it, it's actually called, yeah, Jutlandia.
Jutlandia.
Yeah.
Um, the This is a question I've gotten from quite a few people.
Hmm.
How will, if at all, how will the lack of live events affect our lug status?
Actually, we discussed that, and we feel it would not be fair to rate Arlux on not doing events, not being as active as they potentially could due to the pandemic. So we are basically making sure that this has not an effect on the status of the Arlux, because it's kind of yeah, it's, I think it's, as weird this might sound, but I think I'm happy that this pandemic is hitting everybody, because then everybody can relate to it. If it would be a very local thing, people would say like, oh yeah, but that's over there, and that's not fair to treat them differently and all of that. So it's kind of everybody has an understanding about it. Everybody knows this. Everybody is kind of, yeah, that we all agree around that. It's really bad. It's really something that affects us all. So it's definitely something we are looking into, and definitely we are fully aware of that there are all these challenges, and that it's super difficult to do physical activities. I know there are some groups actually, which I'm very, very surprised that this is possible, but I know that the guys in Romania lately could do something. I know that I think there has been something in New Zealand, but okay, they're also on an island very, very far away, and they had all this lockdown, so they're probably back to good, kind of. But it's very, very limited, and you would also not even wish for having events where a lot of people get together, because that would end up in a super spreader event or whatever. So I think it's the only way of doing that this has not an influence. But of course, we are very pleased to see that also Arlux are started. All the recognized groups, or some recognized groups, started to do virtual activities. So there was a group in Germany lately. They made a virtual show, actually, where they had 3 YouTube channels where they showed people who were home, having the camera and showing their mocks or their layout. I think it's so fantastic to see people's building rooms, men caves, or however you want to call it, or women caves. I'm not sure if that term exists, but it's kind of, it's really, because that is something you of course not can see at physical events. At physical events, you see the mock that is there, that is beautiful, that's fantastic, but you not see the work in progress. You not see the probably sometimes very, very limited surroundings this fantastic model was made. I talked to people where they say like, hey, I have a 1-room apartment, and whenever I build, or when I want to go to sleep, I need to move the mock away from my bedroom or from my bed. So it's really where you think like, wow, that's fantastic, how you can. And then they built whatever, a skyscraper that is 5 meters tall or whatever, and it was the first time they could assemble it at the event, because they never could do it before, because they not even had the space to do so. So
Yeah,
it's these mind-blowing experiences where you say like, wow, this is fantastic. And to see this actually, like at BrickCon, for example, we had an hour together with Holly, where we invited a few people to show the area. So Bill Heron from Texas, he took us through his house, showing us his little storage rooms, and all of these things. It was so much fun to see this, and this is so inspiring. So it's a different approach. But I am also right now in the process of doing a kind of little survey to understand what people feel about virtual conventions, and it seems that people value them and really feel it's a great activity, but compared to physical event, it's not there yet. So and I can certainly understand it, because we all get so, when my normal working day is actually, because you're not having this opportunity to chat to your colleagues in the office like 5 minutes when you pass by their desk. So
yeah,
you have a half-hour meeting for every single thing. So I have days where I start in the morning, let's say at 8 a.m., and it goes until 4 or 5 p.m. with half an hour meetings of each half an hour is a different topic. You get brain fried by that. It's really like, oh my God, will this day ever end? so
right.
so this is of course the downside of it. So I think there's some fatigue about having virtual events also to a certain extent. But I think it's a fantastic tool, and it works very well. So I'm super surprised, and a lot of people are very pleased by that, I think.
Yeah, we're doing our best. We're really trying to make
Yeah,
this
yeah,
something that
of
we know
course.
it'll never replace in-person events, but we're trying to make something out of it that people enjoy for sure. That's our
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so will you this year be reviewing any new lugs for recognized status?
Yes, actually we do. We are in the middle of the process actually. So we had a meeting. What's today? Friday. We had a meeting this week, and I think we will have another meeting next week. So we are in the process of looking into it. I have no idea because it's actually not my work area. I'm giving input to it. I'm joining the let's say the core team of that activity, but it's not my activity. I'm not the owner of the activity, so I have no influence and also no real knowledge right now about when this will communicate it. But yes, we are definitely reviewing new groups. Yes, we do.
Good. Awesome.
And
Thank
I
you.
can tell you, there's also some virtual development there. So we see more virtual, like more channels, YouTube channels, or Twitch areas, or
Yeah.
other things that are coming in. So it's a very, very interesting development, I must say. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if people like you said earlier, it's like a crisis is necessitates creativity or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really like that. I think it's, of course, I'm not like the crisis, but I think it's great that people get creative and get thinking out of the box. I think that's super cool. And even though if things might not work perfectly, I think it all brings us to a certain amount closer together. And it's great to have the opportunity to see you and join this and have a chat and have a conversation. And it's still really, really, really nice. Yeah. So
great.
that's what we can go with.
Yeah. I'm not sure you can answer this question because it does have to do with some product development, but not like
Okay.
specific product development.
Yeah.
The idea that this person has proposed is making bulk bricks available to adult fans that don't live near Lego stores. They're able to they have access to lug bulk.
Hmm.
They occasionally get to a Lego store that has a
Yes.
brick wall. But like the suggestion was something like an AFOL, like a parts package that like you just have like several different parts in several different colors that are available through Shop at Home.
Mm,
Is there any
mm.
consideration for doing something like
We have a lot of loose brick opportunities. On the one hand, there's Bricklink. On the other hand, there is of course Pick a Brick Online. We
that?
have something we call Bricks and Pieces. If you're not familiar with that, that's kind of for even larger order than Pick a Brick Online. You can use Bricks and Pieces, which is fulfilled by our consumer service warehouse in Billund actually. Um, but all of these processes, the loose brick sales is a very difficult process, and
Yeah.
Luckbulk has to create Luckbulk has actually taken a whole year, and it went all the way up to executive vice president level to get the approval. It's because the Lego Group focuses on set production, and if you do loose brick activities, it's also challenging to do a kind of forecast because you actually don't know what elements the people really would like. Of course, we have done some research. We could look into the luck bulk stats and see what elements have the people bought most of. Is that then an idea to offer those in a certain way, or was it actually mean they have bought most of them now, so they don't want more? That's really, I think it's a very, on the one hand we are not necessarily geared to that. On the other hand, it's a pretty complicated process in regards to forecasting, and with the current offers we have, like Pick a Brick Walls, Pick a Brick Online, um, uh, Bricks and Pieces, Luck Bulk, Project Support, which is all about loose bricks. I don't think there's room for more right now. On
Mhm.
the other hand, I'm of course constantly looking into opportunities, and I have now I'm saying something and I have no way if that goes to somewhere. But for example, the AFOL shopping days, I think they are AFOL appreciation days in the stores. I think it's a nice activity. It's a good activity, but it would be great if we could also do this activity online somehow.
Yes, and that's actually one of the questions.
Yes, I know. And it's not the first time I get this question. It's not the first time it has been discussed on the LAN. And it's also, I have reached out to my colleagues. The problem is right now, with the pandemic and all these issues we are facing right now, and even having challenges in getting all the sets we actually want to sell, and all these, suddenly the production in Mexico get closed, and then other things get closed. And it's so uncertain times that people are kind of right now running on site. They are not running on plans.
Yeah.
So coming now with a new idea into all of this is, the people would not listen to you. I tried it, and surprisingly, I got answers from my colleagues, and they expressed interest. Or they said, like, that is actually a very interesting and very appealing idea, but they said, let's look into that next year or whatever. But I'm keeping working on that, or whoever then will probably be my follow up on brand retail, on all this area, will probably follow up. But I will make sure that this is repeated. And
Yeah.
I know the community is very interested in that, because I can certainly understand people that they say, hey, for 15% discount on sets which are below $99, $95, I'm not driving 3 hours. No doubt about that. I can certainly understand. But my goal would actually be kind of changing the AFOL Appreciation Day really into something which is AFOL appreciation, like probably taking the selling purpose a bit out of it. Not saying that we not do it, but kind of focusing on other things there might be very interesting to make it really engaging or really cool to be there, making probably something exclusive, or making more, focusing more on engagement instead of this, hey, you can come here, get some discount on the set you anyway don't want to buy and get cheap on Amazon. That's kind of, I can certainly understand that some people are a bit confused by that.
Yeah.
But we keep on looking into that, and we're trying to find ways, and I think but right now the pandemic, we are happy that the stores are open at all. Right now I think the situation is very different, but I think we will look into that and see if there can be a development in the future.
Excellent. Along those lines, I imagine this is something that you've discussed with the entire team. But one of the suggestions we got in the chat, and Bricks and Pieces is great, by the way. I'm surprised at the number of elements. Some of the stuff that they have on there's like the new animals and everything that they have available is fantastic. But one of the suggestions we got in the chat was that there's a 200-part limit per element, and help a lot of times, especially when someone's building something that's 7 feet tall and repetitive, to be able to get 10,000 of a piece. Is that a
possibility? And if you need more, I think honestly, I think we need to look more into how can we target AFOLs better? Because also, if you look into the VIP program, it's a VIP program, but everybody can become a VIP. That's kind of what is then VIP about it, if everybody can become a VIP.
Right.
So I think we and I have no idea how long this would take. And it's sometimes, we're a huge company and there are a lot of obstacles, and you need to convince a lot of people. But in a dream scenario, and it's something I would like to work on, or at least have our department or our team to work on, is kind of to get the VIP team and understanding, to get our colleagues and understanding, like, if it's an AFOL, it's normal that they probably call in consumer service and say, hey, I have 10 tray motors that have a challenge or a problem, or I want to buy 2,000 2x4 bricks and not 200. So that the people probably have some supervisors that are special educated to work with AFOL requests, or having a better understanding. And that also kind of, therefore I'm also so happy that I'm tasked with this education, because I hope I can help with education, that the people actually understand that this is not some weird people that are calling in and want to resell everything. No, it's actually a guy that is sitting at home, desperately needs 2,000 wide 2x4 bricks because he wants to build a 3-meter high waterfall.
Yeah.
I have no. So that's really something we need to get a better understanding of, and we are. It's really small steps, and we are also right now at the beginning. But we have a good dialogue with the VIP team, for example. We have a good dialogue with consumer service. We have dedicated people at consumer service that understand actually that there are AFOLs and what AFOLs are and all of that. So I think it's a slow. I completely agree. It's a slow and long development. But I think we getting there, and we're getting to some people to create a better understanding. So definitely, but it's a really good input.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's great to know all of the discussion and the awareness,
Yes,
and just
yes,
talking about like training people to on what an AFOL is, and like putting people in those positions who understand the AFOL community. That's
yeah.
really encouraging. Some of the advice that person who asked the question got in the
Mm,
chat
mm,
was to
mm.
call customer service when placing an order, because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
times
definitely.
people go past the 200 part limit.
That's a general advice. Call our consumer service. They are the most experienced and lovely people. They try to help you with everything they can. Of course, there are limitations, and there need to be limitations because we cannot make everything happen. But yes, I think that's a really good advice. Call consumer service because they are more than happy to help you and to support you with whatever is possible. I even had things that suddenly my phone rang, and it was actually somebody from consumer saying, I have an AFOL here. He says he knows you and he wants to buy some bricks. So like, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, definitely give it a try and see if that works out. But
Yeah,
because there are possibilities, but of course there need to be a structure, because we cannot risk that we not have a appropriate forecast in the amount of bricks we are selling, and suddenly we run out of a certain brick and then kind of produce a set that is actually already sold to a customer. That's a no-go. So we need to make sure that things are working, and that we are planning in the right way,
yeah,
and that's definitely important here. But always.
yeah. Before we continue, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that is not the advice. Do not call consumer services and name drop Jan Beyer.
No, no, please, no, please not,
That wasn't
please
the
not
point
do
of the
that.
story. You gotta
No.
think like an AFOL. I know a lot of people like in the chat were probably like, I'm gonna try that next time. That's
No,
all.
but they're lovely people at consumer service. So I think if they can help you, they will definitely do it.
Um, there's a lot of good questions left, and I know we don't have all that much time. I'm gonna try to get them all in. The You guys recently launched the Adults Welcome program. What have the unintended consequences and benefits been of that program?
That's actually something that not lies in my area, so I don't think I can really. I know we have the adult strategy, and that's something we're really looking into, and we try to look into ways how we can get more. It's more focused on adults. It's not necessarily focused on AFOLs.
Gotcha.
So I think that is something we need to always bear in mind to a certain extent, because we have seen that the I think there's a general challenge in the company to understand what is an AFOL and adult, and then sometimes we talk about adults but mean AFOLs, and sometimes we talk about AFOLs but mean more the casual adult user. So I think there's still a mix to try to understand where we actually are going with that. But we have the adult strategy, and I think that is definitely a step in the right direction to make the products more similar looking, and to focus more on what adults are interested in. On the other hand, I also heard a lot of comments that people say, you adult mean for you making bigger sets, so the sets get bigger and bigger and bigger and more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. So what about adult sets that also target more a smaller set with very advanced building techniques, for example,
Yeah.
or very specific elements that the community might be interested in. So I think we need to still find a bit our balance, or our way here. What does it mean when we talk adult, and what does it mean when we talk AFOL? And there's for sure an overlap, but it's not that everything what is targeted at adults, it's what AFOLs are liking, and vice versa. So I think it's a new approach. It's an interesting approach. I'm very happy about it, but still I think we need to understand where it goes. So
Got
that's kind of what my feeling on that is right now.
Interesting. I think that is most
Mm.
people's tendency to look at that and be like, adults, they're talking about the AFOL.
Yeah, and it's actually not necessary necessarily like that.
And it makes more sense. You're
Mm,
targeting towards
mm,
adults to build the
Yeah.
product. So I mean, it's just so obvious talking with you, even just one-on-one. But when you do these Q&As, it's obvious how much passion you have for your job, how much you love your job.
Mm.
There's a lot of, I'm going to download the chat for you. There's a lot of appreciation for you being thrown in here with the questions. But what do you find to be the most rewarding part of your job? And at the same time, what has been the most challenging part of your job?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would not even say my job, because actually it's passion and hobby. I don't yes, it's something I happen to get money for, but on the other hand, it's so much fun and I love it and I have done it so many years. So it's really, and it's still exciting, because in Denmark usually you have a saying, you should change your job after 5 years, and
Yes.
now I'm almost up to 18 years and I don't see a need for changing my job. Of course, there's a slight focus change here and there, but still I love the community. It's so much fun and so lovely people. It's such a great time. So I think most rewarding for me is kind of if I've planned things and they work out, and the community shines, because for me it's not important that I'm kind of standing on the scene and giving a speech or whatever. I think that is sometimes necessary, and it's okay to do that, and doing Q&A and all that, but for me it's more important that Julia recognize you next time, or that Julia uh, feels the community welcomes her and she has a great time with the community. Whoever organized that and who did all the work in the back and all that, that's not important for that. The important is that the community gets the place it deserves. And if that happens, if that is announced, or if whatever Kjell, our owner, or Thomas, our owner now, or our CEO is coming to somewhere and saying like, oh, I know you, or oh, this is the community, this is so great, then I get goosebumps and it's like, wow, yeah, yes, thank you, that's great. So that makes me very happy. So if that happens, and and most challenging, I think, is there are a lot of challenging things, but it's kind of, sometimes it's really challenging that you need to, or kind of weird that I need to discuss with colleagues, for me, very obvious things that would make sense for the community, but they definitely not get it because they have no insight and also not interested in getting some insights. So that is sometimes a bit challenging. Also, sometimes I think if the community, mm, if people kind of not, how should I phrase that to not sound weird, but if sometimes I think the community can be more large towards each other and say, hey, they got a great opportunity, they took it, they make something fantastic out of that, so I give them some applause.
Yeah.
But the people are really like, oh, why did they got the opportunity? Why did not we get the opportunity? And then I'm sometimes a bit, come on, then you need to be more vocal, or you need to reach out, because sometimes it's also, of course, we try to treat the community as equal as possible, but we all are humans, and some people are more happen to be at the right spot at the right time, or reach out at the right time, and then you say like, oh wow, that's a fantastic idea, let's support that. And then other people, instead of other people saying, oh yeah, we also feel this is fantastic, we also look into what can we do, they are more like saying like, oh, why did they got. That's sometimes a bit disappointing. I feel that is kind of, because I of course try to do the best for the whole community, and sometimes it's then if you have these internal things where people say like, oh, they are better than us, or we are better than they, but that's it's a community. You all should be friends, and it's your hobby. It should, sometimes for some people it gets really into not hobby, but they get signed off. Ah, that's so, and they get annoyed by things. That's weird. You should not get annoyed by your hobby. It should be fun. It should be relaxing. It should be stress relieving and not annoying you. So that is kind of something that is probably sometimes a bit challenging.
Yeah.
But overall, I love my job.
I think that's something the entire AFOL community deals with is people have a tendency sometimes to take it too personally, too seriously. I think that we share that frustration, but it's a good
But
to say about like your
but in general, when my colleagues get kind of, because I have, of course, I have experienced so many things, so I have no problem with that. Even if people get mad at me, I know they're not mad at me, they're mad at the company or whatever, or at something that not worked out for them. But if sometimes colleagues who not have that feeling tend to be a bit like, oh my God, they are, what happened now? And then usually I say, hey, it's the
Yeah.
passion that is talking out of the people. It's really the passion for the brand, the passion for the product. So don't take it personal. It's they're so passionate about the brand and the product, not necessarily about the company. I can certainly understand it. There's a clear difference between the company, that's the Lego company, and the brand and the product, and that's fine. I think that's really fine. So, but if people get really passionate, some people are super happy, and some people get very uh, uh, eager.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We,
that's
we dealt
we
with
can.
we dealt with the same thing when I worked at Legoland, of just like people
Yeah.
who were there who had come from other industries, really
Mm.
not understanding AFOLs and treating them almost like they were some sort of scientific experiment.
No, but it's usually and it's so fantastic then to see when you create a cooperation between the Lego office, whatever, in Australia and the local community, and they afterwards call you and say, oh, that works so fantastic, and these AFOLs are so lovely people. It's like, say, I told you, huh? Didn't I tell you? They're lovely people. So it's yeah, that's so great.
We're a little bit over. Are you okay? We continue. Just got a couple questions left.
Yeah, sure,
All right,
sure.
perfect. So I love that answer, by the way, and I'm glad we asked that question. Just a couple other personal questions that I think are kind of fun. Someone asked, are the sets behind you that you're storing on your shelf, are those for future investments?
And actually, that are not my shelves. I'm actually sitting in my wife's office. She's a teacher, so she needs to have a lot of books. And as she is an English teacher, she loves. I'm only allowed to put models here that are British related. So I have the London bus. We have the House of Parliaments and all of these things. So that is my Lego room display is upstairs, and that's tiny and I have more space in the office, and I have some good friends where I can store some stuff. And yeah, so that's my wife's place here.
Very cool.
But she let me to use it because that's great. So I'm very grateful for her to let me into her teaching area.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Got to be difficult teaching during all of this.
Yes, definitely.
And raising two young children.
Yeah.
So what during all of this? So once quarantine started, during all the lockdown, what have you been doing for fun, besides, of course, like building Lego from time to time? What do you do to get to get a break from work and enjoy life, not being able to go many places?
Yeah, exactly. So listen to good music and dancing with my daughter. Actually, that is kind of, my daughter's 2.5, and she loves dancing. So we are dancing through the house. We are, she's dancing around. She's singing. She's putting music on, and then she asked me to put music on. So we are dancing all the time here and singing, and that's actually what we're doing. And we have done a lot of gardening. Actually, we bought a new house. We built a house, and we actually bought a pretty small piece of land because we felt we had no time to look after our garden and all of that. And suddenly, with the pandemic, we had so much time being at home all the time, because usually I'm commuting like 3 hours to work, as a forth and back, it's 3 hours together. So now I had this time, and I could not work all the time. So I had time. So we went out in the garden, had some project areas. So we made some new areas in the garden. The kids loved it. We loved it. So gardening has been quite big. And yeah, dancing, music also has been very exciting. But with 2 kids, you're always busy. There's no, honestly, if I have spare time, it's kind of entertaining the kids, or they entertain me. So there's not really, I'm not bored at any time of the day.
Let's say our June show, Jan was scheduled his time of the day so that he can receive the bouncy castle they had rented for his daughter's
Yeah,
birthday, and now this weekend is his son's birthday.
exactly.
We scheduled our shows on the same weekends as his children's birthdays.
That's fantastic. That's a good planning.
All right, one last
All fine. Yeah.
question to go out on. So in the last 15 years that I've been going to Lego events, the official representatives who have come from Lego would tell us about that AFOL and adult buying represented about 5% of Lego sales, and it seems over the past decade and a half that has increased quite a bit. Have you seen an increase in the resources Lego puts towards the AFOL community and to the size of your team?
It definitely. Of course, we always could use more people, and I think also not having people necessarily in the regions that are taking directly, like the community managers taking directly dialogue with the AFOL community, probably is a challenge for some AFOLs, and also I feel that we probably could be closer. But on the other hand, that's my personal point of view, and sometimes these differ a bit from other personal points of view. But yes, of course, our whole team, our whole department, and we are 25 people or something like that now, is dedicated to the AFOL community, of course, in different areas. So we have Lego Ideas, we have Lego Lead User Lab, we have the Grow team that's looking after the Lego Ambassador Network. We have our department that is more looking into AFOL integration. We have a department that is entirely working internally, and a team that's working entirely internally, working with the design and product groups to see how AFOLs could fit in there, or they work with the user-generated content. Helping the local markets to get access to AFOL community developed user-generated content. So that's fantastic. So we have an internal picture database, and now we actually have toy photographers stuff and stuff the community made on this asset portal. That's amazing. We never thought about that this will happen. So, and people actually, I talked to Australia yesterday, and they were like, yeah, we're aware of that. We're using that all the time. And so fantastic. We talked to senior marketing director, and she was like, yeah, sure, I know that, and that's really great. So yes, definitely put more efforts in, but of course the community also is growing and is moving very fast, and it's kind of course we always could be more people, but our plan is also now to work with the markets more. As I said, education, help the markets to also get up to speed and be a bit our colleagues or our partner in crime, if you want to say it like that, to work with the community, because we even if it would be 10 people more, it still would be challenging. So if we have in each market a few people that at least have an understanding of the local community they work with, of the ambassadors that are in the area, of the way how to interact with the community, because having professional marketeers in our local business units working with hobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, this is the root cause for everything. It's the evil itself. So it's a challenge, and then it's not their job. It's basically not their job. So you need to help them to understand how this works, how that it's hobbyists, that it's people who do this for fun, of passion. They love that. It's not a PR agency you are hiring. You pay money and then you tell them do this until tomorrow. That's not working. So we need to, therefore education always has been very high on the agenda. So I think this is really a task that is important, and as more people get educated, as more people have an understanding, then of course we run into other challenges, and that might be because then we have too many people talking to the community and we get too many messages from different ways. So we need to find a way where we can balance and how we streamline things. But building more understanding in the markets will also help us to have more people to engage with the community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much today for being here, for being part. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
I mean, just the support you've given us. This has been an excellent discussion today. Really appreciate you being here. If everyone could please unmute and say thank you to Jan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely questions. It was so great. I love that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please come again.
Definitely. You see me on December 12th, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just saying we haven't talked about it yet, but I didn't want to be presumptuous, but no, I'd be more than happy.
But I love it. It's so great also because it's so good questions, and it helps me a lot in my also, because a question always poses also an opportunity. So it's really good to get the feeling and to get the questions to kind of direct my mind in the things that are on the heart of the community. So it's really, really helpful for me. I love it. So it's really cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We want to see you in Chicago next year.
Yeah, I wish, I hope that, honestly, I have learned in these days, I will make no plans, because whenever I make a plan, the plan is changed next day. So these days is really, but if the event is happening, I will do my best to be there.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
I would love to. I would love to.
See you, definitely.
This is my mom, by the way, Jan.
All right, cool. Yeah, if mom says I need to come.
Yes, mothers are always right.
Mother knows best.
I will not challenge that. At least not tonight.
Very good.
All righty. Thank you very much. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Stay safe, you and your family.
Yes.
Yep.
Same to you. Be very careful. Stay healthy. and
Yep.
good
Let
luck
the
with your
frog boy
with your
be
president
with
election.
you.
Thank you.
No
Take care
problem.
and have a fun event tomorrow too. And you will see my great colleague Woon Si from actually Singapore. He will give you a nice presentation tomorrow.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you. Happy
Looking forward to
Halloween.
it.
For
Thank you.
everything.
Yeah.